Hello, I'm Anthony Furey in for Ezra. Thanks very much for watching us. Last week, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau toured southern Ontario, stopping off in Windsor. While there, he sat down with the Windsor Star, and here is one of the questions the reporter fielded to him.
Please finish the following sentence. If elected, my first full day as Prime Minister, I would...
Classic. Maybe my favorite part is the shrug, just a little shrug. It was a simple question. You should have an answer easily on hand. Running for Prime Minister, very serious job. You need to enter the race fully prepared. And when someone asks you a question like what's your #1 priority? What will you do on day one? Or what are the 3 must-have policies you're going to implement? You need to be chomping at the bit to answer them. You need to have it thought out so thoroughly for years and be so passionate about it that not only do you not pause for even a split second, but they can't shut you up about it. You have so much meaningful stuff to say. Now, in fairness, Trudeau did eventually answer that question. Here's what he said.
Spend the day probably reaching out to premiers and municipal leaders to build the kinds of relationships that are going to be essential going forward. I think a collaborative, cooperative leadership is what people expect in the 21st century. They don't expect nastiness and partisan attacks. And I will spend the day reaching out to other levels of government and other leaders to build the foundation to solve the big problems in the coming days, weeks, and years.
Oh, not looking good here, folks. I'm not really sure what that even means. A federal leader's job is to deal with federal policy. So to say that on your first day you'd, I don't know, call up the mayor of Kingston and promise not to swear at him is very nice, but it doth not a prime minister make. This vacuity, though, speaks to the main problem with this leader. I don't think he ran to be leader because he thought policy X, Y, and Z needed to be implemented with the very core of his being and that he was going to passionately fight for them from day one. No, he ran for leader because, you know, why not? Don't have much else going on right now. And because a bunch of folks whispered flattering things in his ear. Now, let's be honest, though. This is a problem that is not unique to Trudeau. Most politicians are plagued with this. Now, terms in office are in some ways quite short. The years go by so fast, and you've got to know what you want to accomplish from the get-go. You can't just say, well, you know, I want to be the guy who gets to wear the big hat just in case something big goes down. I'll make it up as I go along, as if you want to be a placeholder prime minister. Now, maybe Trudeau does have ideas aplenty. After all, he does say, wait until I roll out my platform to judge me. But there's something incredibly condescending to the voter about politicians who hold back their ideas, which is what most of them do. But Fury, you don't understand. If they bring the ideas out too early, the opposition have months to chip away at them. So what? If you strongly believe in it, if you have convictions, fight back. No, Fury, but politics and policy are 2 different things, and campaigning, it's a delicate art. Yeah. But buying into that political class stuff shows that they're more interested in winning for the sake of winning than getting on the turf and fighting for what they believe in. Now, the truth is, we should never be surprised by a major policy plank from a politician. It should be something they've been going on about for years. And after chewing it over for years, they finally go, yes, I've thought about it from every angle, I know it's right, and I'm now ready to stake my reputation on selling this idea to the folks on the national stage. Because otherwise, it means they're just a recent convert to the idea. Yet they already want to impose it as the law of the land on us. Demand more, people. From Justin Trudeau, from Stephen Harper, from everyone. That's what the regular folks need to do in the lead up to the 2015 election to make sure the political class doesn't pull a fast one on us once again.
Remember who we are working for. Because reading it in a platform is one thing, but Canadians from coast to coast to coast should see it in our eyes and hear it in our voices.
I'm joined now in studio by Sun News contributor Michael Diamond. So, Michael, do you think I'm being a little too naive in my monologue that I should actually get politicians just street fighting for ideas from day one.
Well, you know, it has to work for each individual politician. I think for Justin Trudeau, if I'm Justin Trudeau, if I'm advising him, and the main criticism that other parties and leaders and that I'm worried about are going to take a hold with the Canadian people is that I'm just over my head. If I'm Justin Trudeau, I want to present early and often a robust vision for Canada, and clearly in that message, he hasn't thought about that. If we think back to 2005 and 2006 during the election, Stephen Harper became Prime Minister, and no one was criticizing Stephen Harper as being an intellectual lightweight. If he was asked that question, he would have said right away, I will implement the Federal Accountability Act. No questions, no pause, clear, concise answer. You know, that's not what we're getting from Justin Trudeau.
Okay, and I want to push a thesis by you here, see what you think about it. And this isn't pseudo-defense of Trudeau. I think that Conservatives almost have it easier now because there's so much government out there and nonsense and shenanigans happening that to campaign on, we got to get rid of X, Y, and Z is a very viable thing to campaign on because there's a lot of stuff we don't need out there. There's a wealth of ideas, whereas if you're a progressive, I mean, let's be honest, there's not too much of a need for your battles anymore because you won them in the 20s and 60s and so forth. So they're grasping at straws all the time.
I'd absolutely agree. You know, the Liberal Party of Canada, much like the Republican Party in the United States, has been a victim of their own success, just on opposite sides. So in the United States, you know, calling for tax cuts before Obama really wasn't a rallying cry that people could get behind because those victories have been won. And for the federal Liberals, they need to be looking what are the problems facing Canadians and what would the Liberal approach be instead of going back to the way they used to do things, looking ahead with a liberal lens.
Now, do you think that Justin's going to find like his wedge issue that defines him? The challenge with the progressive politics, you know, the most cutting edge thing now is whether you get the bathrooms for the transgendered folks. And I'm not, you know, I think there's obviously an issue with some folks in society, but it's such a small catchment rate. It's less than 1% of society. I mean, it's not the true progressive journey, really. They're not working with much.
Well, you know, I guess his one main policy point that he keeps on talking about, sometimes unwisely, is legalization of marijuana and reforms on that. It's something I don't think is really on the top of the radar screen for Canadians, even if many will agree with him.
I said the Conservatives should just legalize it, be done with it. It's a conservative thing, and then they take it away from them.
But, you know, and Justin Trudeau, when he's talking about that, doesn't even do it right. So, you know, there's a quote that I'm quite fond of from Lyndon Johnson, that only speak when it improves the silence. And with Justin Trudeau, in this case, you know, he needed to say something when he was asked a direct question. But if you look back to Justin Trudeau's performance as federal Liberal leader, you know, many times he's just stepping in it and talking when there's no need to. If it's about marijuana legalization on a school on a reserve, if it's making jokes about Putin's aggression, whatever it is, you know, his history is, until now, he's always had too much to say. Now he can't even tell us what his vision is.
I mean, the game gets real going forward from now on until October, and I think less and less people are betting on this guy.
Oh, absolutely, and we're seeing that in the poll numbers that, you know, his honeymoon, his extended honeymoon is over. Canadians are paying attention, and now with answers like that, he's actually going to give some confirmation to the Conservative attack ads of Justin Trudeau's just in over his head, which weren't really taking a hold with voters, it appeared from the polls. But now that he's giving some credibility to that, we're going to see, I think, them doubling down on that message.
Michael Diamond, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thanks.